How can Ayurveda support our digestion? So before I go into this topic, let me start with what is Ayurveda and what it does and how it can support our digestion and our health in general. So Ayurveda is an ancient Indian medicine, more than 5,000 years old, and it promotes longevity and vitality. It's a preventative medicine. It helps us to, or supports us and encourages us to become our own healers, to take the responsibility, self-responsibility for our own life and health. And Ayurveda is all about balance, helps us to bring balance into our body, into our mind, and into our life. And Ayurveda recognizes that when there is an imbalance in our body, in our physical body, if we have some symptoms or illness or a disease, or there is an imbalance in our mind, then very often it starts with the imbalance in our digestion. Ayurveda really looks at digestion, the root cause of most of our diseases and diseases like lack of ease in our being and our physical and mental symptoms. So where does that imbalance come from? So when we are not digesting the food properly, it starts to create this imbalance in our body. So it creates imbalance in our doshas. Doshas are these three mind-body types that governs our physical and emotional and mental body. And these doshas are a combination of 5 elements. So everything in the world, everything in the universe is a combination of these 5 elements. So these are space, air, fire, water, and earth. And these 3 doshas are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And they all have like a specific combination of these elements. So when we have an imbalance in our body, then it starts from imbalance in our doshas. And the doshas have a specific home in the body. So Kapha dosha has a home in the stomach. Pitta dosha has a home in small intestine, and Vata's home is in colon, in the large intestine. So when the doshas go out of balance, very often they go into excess. They start to get aggravated. They start to accumulate. They start to then get aggressive, aggravated, and then they move out. They flow out of their home. So mean that they will leave their original home, then, which is the stomach or a small intestine or a large intestine, and it starts to move around in the body, and then looks for the kind of the most weakest point in the body, and then they go into the tissues, and then from these tissues then the disease process starts. So that's when we go into the doctor and we already have a symptom. But the disease process itself already starts so much more earlier. It starts when we have this a little niggling digestive discomfort in our body, and which we very often ignore. Again, we can go back into doshas. Look at the doshas from here. So Kapha's tendency is to go towards a sluggish digestion. So when we start to notice that we feel heavy after dinner, we don't really get hungry, so the food just kind of sits in our stomach. So that is a sign that the kapha is starting to increase, and it's starting to kind of accumulate, and then slowly starting to kind of get more aggressive. Pitta. So Pitta's home is in small intestine, and that's where most of our digestion happens. So Pitta is a fire element. So when we feel like a heartburn, we have acid reflux, we just feel burning in our stomach or in our digestion. So that is a sign that the Pitta is starting to accumulate and it's starting to become more aggressive. And then Vata. Vata's home is in colon, and that it can manifest as gas, bloating, constipation. And again, very often we ignore these signs, are like, oh, just that's just how I am, or just is like, I don't know, I'm going through a period in my life, or I'm getting older, or whatever it is. All these signs we very often kind of ignore, but these are already the first symptoms that something is not right, and slowly the disease process has started. So we need to pay attention. We need to become our own like investigator or our own healer, that we pay attention to these little signs. So this is a little overview of how digestion works, or like what are the signs that something is going off in our system. And Ayurveda really puts the highest importance to our digestion. So as I already mentioned, that all our diseases start from these small little niggling kind of symptoms, or sometimes we call like just annoyance that we want to get rid of. But we need to pay attention and clear them off straight away, because if we don't clear them off, as I said, this excess dosha starts to move around and finds its new home in a place in the body that is the weakest. That's then can become cancer or any other kind of chronic diseases what we might experience. Another very important part in Ayurveda is to look at the Agni, which is our digestive fire. So when the doshas get into excess, and especially as well if the Agni is not, our digestive fire is not working properly, we can't digest the food. And what happens then, it starts to also kind of accumulate in our digestive tract, and it starts to create which is a metabolic toxin. And when we can't eliminate the properly, it accumulates and starts to cause again a lot of other problems. So very often, like a more kind of serious diseases or illnesses are then the combination of excess dosha that has moved out of its home, and accumulation of metabolic toxin. And metabolic toxin, or this there's many symptoms, and very easy symptoms what we can look when we start to create a habit to look at our tongue. When there is a white coating on our tongue, it's showing that our digestion is not working well, and there is already an accumulation of in our body. So that metabolic toxin, it kind of sticks into our digestive tract and into our organs. So the quality of is like a cold and sticky, and so yeah, it kind of sticks into our body, and we can't get rid of it that easily if there is already a lot of it. But it's very easily to remove when we notice the first signs. So very easy to remove it is like just using specific spices in our diet that help to eliminate that So here we go. So there's a couple of just small little things to understand, like how Ayurveda can support our digestion, or why does it pay so much attention to our digestion? Because it all starts with the digestion. If digestion is not working well, that means we can't function properly. The body is not functioning properly. And in Western life, or in the Western world, or in Western medicine, we only look at how we digest food, but it's also very important to look how we digest life itself. The Agni, what I mentioned, the digestive fire, has to digest everything what we take in. Yes, the food, the drink, everything what we take in through our eyes, through our ears, through our nose. So the Agni has to digest all of it, the emotions what we're going through. So it's not just the food what we take, but as Ayurveda recognizes that we really are what we eat, but we are everything what we take in through all our five senses, and eventually we are what we actually digest. We can eat as healthy as possible, but if the body can't digest it, if the Agni is not strong enough, if our digestion is not working properly, doesn't matter how well we eat, it's still not going to support our health. So it's so important to pay attention to our digestion and make sure that it's working well, and really become our own healer so that it can support our longevity and our vitality for many years to come. So here is just a short video to give you a little bit of an idea of digestion works. So I mentioned here Agni and the dosha, so I have videos about that. Just check below the video for the links for this, and make sure you subscribe so that you get all the notifications when I'm popping a new video. Till then, namaste.